Hi, it's Alex and you're watching AI Coding. Today we'll start with something simple, just a website that will have some amount of static information and a bit of JavaScript logic. First thing first, to code with comfort, you will need a decent code editor. If you don't want to spend time looking, I recommend to choosing one of two, VS Code or WebStorm. For more detailed comparison of IDEs, please look out for my video in this channel. Meanwhile, VS Code is free and has a big variety of packages to help you with routine tasks. WebStorm is more advanced and mature editor. It was on the market much longer than VS Code, but it's free only for the first month. After that, you will have to pay to use it. My preference is WebStorm and I will use it most of the time. So let's just close Visual Code. For now, I will show you the end result of the website we will do today. It's a nice styled page with some nice background, menu on top, brand photo, a few sections, and a footer. Everything is with links. Put in the header. We'll not use any framework today, only plain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. One of the principles that should drive your development is KISS, an acronym to keep it simple, stupid. In our case, it means we should choose simple tools to solve simple problems. To get started, let's create a directory in your project. Let's call it basic web site. I'll do that via operating system UI, not via console on purpose. So people who are not familiar with console interfaces will not feel that video is overcomplicated. In our directory, we'll need to create 3 files, but let's open this directory in a WebStorm. I'll just click open, find our directory, and here it is. So this is the interface of the WebStorm. To create our files, I'll click right mouse button on the root directory and choose new file. So first file that we need to create is index.html. The reason why it's called index.html, because when it's placed on a server in a proper directory, it will just work. Server will know that it needs to look for the index.html file, and if you set up some domain and hosting, that this file will just show the information you have. Next file we'll need is CSS file that will contain some styles. Let's create it right away. Name really doesn't matter here, so I'll just call it style.css. Later we will need to connect it to our index.html. I'll show you how. And the latest file we'll create is JavaScript file. Let's call it script.js. Let's create index.html template. I'm using shortcut of WebStorm. We don't need most of those tags. I'll remove extra tags and leave on essential ones. Let's call our website my website. This title will be shown in the header of the browser. Let's create our basic structure: header, section. We will need 3 sections and footer. Let's leave them empty for now. Let's open in the browser. WebStorm has special function to create a temporary server to host your local pages. As you can see, the page is blank right now. Let's create a few header links in our header. First, who we are, and another one, about us, and one more, skills you will learn. Okay, perfect. As I save the page, as you can see, the changes are reflected. I'll create duplicated header tags in each section. This one is for who we are. We are NA coding together with content. I will use P tag. P is for paragraph. I already have some content copied, so I'll just paste it. I'll add a button here called Contact Us. You can see it reflected right away. Okay, I will create another directory for our assets. It will store pictures. I have 2 pictures pre-created. One is for background, another is for logo. I'll create div tag and put our content together with header inside because I need to put our logo side by side with all this content. I specify the path for the logo image in the source attribute for the image tag. I don't need alt attribute. Okay, we can see it's already rendered. Now I'll switch to the style CSS file. Here I will define styles for our body tag and specifically background image. As you can see, I use an URL function where I specify the path for the background JPEG image. So I'll need some supportive styles. So here I will define 2 tags right away, HTML and body. So these styles will be applied for both of them, which is minimum height will be 100%. And the background is a dark blue background. I saved it, but it's not shown at the moment. It's because I didn't connect the style CSS to our file. Let's do it with link tag. Here we go. Yeah, now we can see nice background. Now, let's define few more tags that we'll need. First one is the color of the text. Now it's white, so we can clearly see it on the dark background. Okay, a few more properties for body, which is background attachment, fixed, and one more, background position, top center. I'll explain it later. We will need them to properly display background for both header, body, and footer. One more important property, margin 0, because by default, browser setting up margin 0.8. As you can see, margin is the offset between content and the borders of the page. Now it's gone. We will need one more property for the background, is background size. I'll define it as cover. It's needed for image to cover all the page, regardless of the size. Now, let's get ready our section. We'll define class flex, and I will define this class in the CSS style. I will use display flex property, which is used for setting blocks as a grid. In our case, they are set as columns side by side. I also define a gap, 32 pixels between them. Okay, looks nice so far. So I will define one more property for section that lies inside the body. I'll use this arrow symbol for a block. So minimum width. It's needed to prevent section growing more than 980 pixels. Let's see, I'm reducing the size of the page. Let's define margin auto for our section. So it will automatically center itself together with the background. That's great. Let's also define background color for the section. Semi-transparent blue will do. Somehow section is still not in the middle. So I'll just debug a little bit. I'll call inspector of the Chrome. It shows me the HTML3 and styles of the page. Let's reduce the size of the page and inspect this particular section to figure out if we can find the issue why it's not centered. As you can see, it's rendered on the left side. Margin should set it in the middle. Okay, let's just skip it for now. Let's make image smaller. Original size is 512 to 512 pixels. Let's reduce it half to 156 pixels. I'm doing it by defining width and height properties on the image itself. However, we can do it with CSS also. Let's define content for the remaining sections. Section 2, about us. I have some content copied. We'll need more content for this section. It looks nice so far for unstyled section. Okay, and the last section, skills, you will learn with us. I'll define an ordered list here, or bullet list. Paste in some real content here. First list is ready, but I really want two lists. So I paste in the content for another list right away. They're rendered one under another right now, but we'll fix it to render them side by side. I'll define div tag with a class that doesn't exist yet to call. I'll put it in the div and define to call class in CSS file. We'll use same display flex property, and it will do side-by-side rendering right away for our two lists. I'll define one more property, padding, 32 pixels. This is the space between internal content of the section and outside elements. I'll define a few more default properties for all the elements on the page using the star block. One family for rendering better text on the page. Box sizing is to take into account border, padding, and content of the element, which is important for our case. And line height to render a little bit bigger lines compared to the font size. Instead of %, we will use view width parameter. It's taken from entire page, not from parent element. And we'll use calc function to subtract 16 pixels from that amount. It didn't work. For styling, okay, max width will actually fix our case. We don't want the element to be more than 980 pixels. And right now it looks exactly like we expected to. Okay, currently sections a little bit close to each other. So we will fix it by defining the bottom margin, 32 pixels. It works. As you can see, I defined 4 margin properties, one for the top, another for the right side, one for the bottom, and one for the left side. Okay, let's make text a little bit more clear by defining a backdrop filter blur. We can do that. So the background will be a little bit blurry for the section. Probably 4 pixels is enough. Yes. Okay, let's switch to our HTML page. Our header actually doesn't contain any links, only text. To make them links, let's define a attribute and put everything inside. WebStorm renders me href property by default. We will use it later. As soon as I save the file, we can see the text turns to links. It's underlined and it's purple right now. So let's define something in hyperreference. But before that, let's define in the header. We'll define ID property. In this section, it will be who, and hyperreference will be hashtag who. So this will need to link our text when user clicks on it. So it will right away lead us to the section by scrolling to the section. Second section will be about. Let's check. First one works, and second one works. Perfect. Let's define a third one. ID skills, and hyperreference for it. Hashtag skills. About us works. Skills works perfectly. Okay, let's define some styles for our header links. Header tag and styles for it. Display flex. Right away they started to be displayed side by side. Defining gap between links. 8 pixels should be enough. And font size a bit smaller, 16 pixels. That didn't work. Probably we need to define the size on H2 tag instead. Font size 16. Okay, that will work. Let's remove it from header. Okay, define one more property. Just justify content center, so links would be centered on the page, respectively to its parent container. Okay, links are still working. Now, let's define some scroll behavior. Right now it's a bit sharp, but once I defined scroll behavior smooth, page started to scroll very smoothly. So this is how we can do some nice animations with just one CSS property. Okay, links are not looking good still. First is color. Let's make them light blue, so it will match our overall defined style. Okay, and let's remove the underline with text decoration on, but return it on hover. As you can see, when hovering the mouse, new style, text decoration underline applies on the link. This is exactly what we need. Right now header is hiding on scroll, but we can fix this to make it not change the position with position fixed. Once I set it, now it's hiding behind the content. Okay, we actually need to bring it in front. Let's use another property, that index2. It will bring element on top of the content. It's still a little bit squeezed to the left. Okay, width 100% should help. Now it's centered, but something is wrong. Okay, right now it's on top of the content, but we don't really want it to overlap with the content. We want them to be separated. Okay, so to do this, first we will define its own background image, same as the body. As you can see, it also kind of inherited the background. Now let's define padding for the body, and it will be applied for all the elements, including our header. And now, final detail, define top 0 for our header. So we will explicitly say it should be sticked to the top. Now, as you can see, it's on the top, and also when we're scrolling, it's kind of hiding the content under itself while still preserving the background color, which gives us a very nice effect. Okay, looks good, but could be better. So let's increase the gap between the elements to 16 to clearly distinguish the links. Even 32. Yeah, that looks like I expected it to look. Great. Now let's switch to our index.html page and get our footer ready. As you can see, I already pasted 6 links in the footer, one by one in 3 groups. Now let's define some styles for the footer. First is display flex. Again, we want it to be displayed in 3 columns, defining gaps as well, and justify content centered to make it centered. Okay, this looks much better already. I'll just copy background from the section to match with the footer, and also define some padding around, and we also need it to be fixed. Okay, it's disappeared from the screen, and that's because we're missing the bottom property to explicitly tell that it should be visible on the bottom. Okay, it's there. Squeeze to the left, define it the width 100%. Okay, and some padding bottom on the body, so it will not overlap with the bottom of our content. Now, I really want it to look like a section that sticks to the bottom. So to do that, let's define a wrapper inside of a footer. Let's call it footer wrapper. Put all the footer content inside. The footer wrapper will hold the styles of section, which will be in the footer, and the footer will hold the remaining styles, including the background. Okay, let's move all non-positioned styles to the footer wrapper, and we will need width and max width styles of the body section. Let's copy it from there. Okay, here we go. It has designed width, but it sticks to the left. And margin auto helps us. Okay, let's define some border radius. We don't want it to be on all the corners. So I'll just define first, and which will be the top left corner. And intuitively, we can guess that second property will be our next corner clockwise, which is top right corner. It's kind of hidden behind the scroll, but it's fine. We still can see it. Okay, let's copy the background properties of the header to our footer page, and define a little bit of top margin for our footer wrapper, so it will kind of overlap the content a little bit, but leaving the thin line. Looks good. All right. Now let's get busy with the button. I'll define a CTA button class, which I'll apply to our button element in the index.html file. Okay. I think I accidentally removed the button during the editing phase. So let's re-edit. Defining it class CTA button. Okay. Our button is shown as we expect it to. Now let's define styles on the button. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Padding of the top and bottom will be 10 pixels and 20 pixels for the left and right side. Background color will match our blue theme color, AACCEE, which is light blue. I'll define the font size for the button, make it big, as the default size of the page. 1 rem means same as style of the page. Color of the text dark blue, and border will be 1 pixel. It will be solid and it will match the color of the text. Okay, cursor pointer, so it will turn to a hand when we hover in the button. Let's define a background color and color for the hover state darker than the original state, making border color same as text color. As you can see, when I hover in the button, it became darker, but we really want it to be more interactive, and let's define an active state. So I define in top 1 pixel, so I want it to shift when I click on it, and it's not working because position relative is missing on the button. Once I edit position relative, it works. And let's make it a little bit rounder for the radius, 4 pixels. And font weight, bold. So it will look like actual call to action button. Now let's link our script finally to our page and write down some logic to our page. I'm using script tag for it and defining a path to the file in the source tag. Switching to the script.js file. Right now button doesn't do anything. Let's define what we will do with our button. Okay, I'm using a function property to define a JavaScript function which we'll call greet, and we'll just say hello user for now on click of the button. Okay, looks good in JavaScript, but let's connect our function to actual button. We'll use onClick attribute. And WebStorm already knows that we have greet function. I will define it in double brackets. On click, it will show hello user. This is exactly what we expect of alert to do. I'll define one more function call here, which is prompt, and it will ask user for information and actually store that information in a variable. We will ask user, what's your email? Let's see. On click, it will render input for us, and I'll just put some random Gmail account. And after that, it will say hello user. So what we want to do is to save this information in a variable. We will use constant email to save this information, and we want to display it after our alert. So how do we do that? Let's change our alert to email has been sent to, and then we will use plus to concatenate our variable value to it. Let's test if it works. What's your email? alex@gmail.com. Okay, email was sent to alex@gmail.com. It works, but if we want to do it in a canonical way, we want to interpolate this email variable inside the string. To do that, we will use tilde instead of single quote, and dollar followed by color braces combination. Let's put our email inside, and let's check if it's still working. Okay, it still works, but the code right now is more acceptable. Okay, great. That's all. Let's look one last time to our page. We have header, we have 3 sections, we have footer. Perfect. That would be all for this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you in another video. Bye bye.